It is UFC 259 this weekend, so here is your preview. Let's start with the main event. Let's get straight at it. I call it the Emmanuel Alyssa Davy Derby. It is Jan Błachowicz defending the UFC light heavyweight title against the UFC middleweight champion, Israel Adesanya. We are well in the midst of the double champ era. Conor McGregor kicked it all off when he had his big plans of wanting to be the double champ. Dana White was kind of always against the idea of a double champ, but because it was Conor, because it was the cash cow, he said, fine, let's do it, let's go with it. And since then, we've seen DC do it, Amanda Nunes, Henry Cejudo, and this Saturday, or Sunday in the UK, we might see Israel Adesanya do it himself. And yes, apparently it is Adesanya and not Adesanya, so I thought I would say it the way the man wants it to be said. But why should you be invested in this fight? If you're a UFC casual fan, you might be thinking, why this fight? Why this show? Well, I'm going to explain it to you right now. And I'm going to start with the story because I feel like the story is the thing that really pulls in that casual audience. Now, what is the story here? The light heavyweight title for years belonged to Jon Jones. Besides the times when he was suspended and Daniel Cormier had it, he reigned supreme over the land for years and years until he decided, right, I'm going to go up to heavyweight. At the same time that he was deciding he wanted to go up to heavyweight, Israel Adesanya was saying, listen, I'm going to come for you, Jon Jones. I'm going to come up to the light heavyweight and try and take your belt at some point. Well, as soon as Jones moved up to heavyweight, Adesanya said, right, this is my time to move up to light heavyweight. And there, waiting for him, is the new champion, Jan Błachowicz. And Jan Błachowicz is a big fella with big knockout power. He's got 8 KO finishes in the UFC, including 3 of his last 4 fights. And let's not forget, he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he can get it done on the ground as well. Hey, but Stylebender is no stranger to these KO beasts. His last 3 wins come over Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero, 3 huge knockout power guys in the middleweight division. Now, if they couldn't get the job done, and if they couldn't land a glove on Izzy, then I'm not too sure what Jan can bring to the table. Sure, they've all got knockout power, all 4 of these guys that I'm talking about, but Izzy's already beaten 3 of them. The difference is that the other 3 are in a lower weight class, so you would expect that they're all well quicker than Jan Błachowicz. So let's look at Izzy for a second. I've already mentioned that he's the middleweight champion. He's 20-0 in MMA, never been beaten, and I'm not too sure on this Saturday if that's going to change. Now, the big thing that people always talk about with these fights when a fighter moves up in weight class is, will they be able to compete? Well, the big thing with Izzy is, he's 6'4". It's literally the big thing about him. It's his size. He's 6'4". Jan Błachowicz is 6'2". So although there is a weight class difference in them, Izzy's actually the bigger man. Lengthwise. Now, what's he going to fill out to on the day? Will he be a naturally bigger body? Will it fit his physique? Will he be able to move as smoothly and as quickly as he can in middleweight? Hey, we're going to have to find that out on Saturday. And that's why this fight is so exciting. Izzy's moving up. His body's going to be bigger. Will that slow him down? I think it most certainly will slow him down. But to what extent will it slow him down? I think he'll be able to still control the reach like he's done in middleweight with these smaller guys lengthwise and keep them away, keep them at bay, and then eventually finish them when they've rushed in. Right, let's end the chat about this fight by giving my prediction. I think Izzy's going to win, and I think he's going to do it by stopping Jan in about the 3rd round. And listen, feel free to absolutely roast me in the comments down below if I got any of these predictions wrong that I'm going to give in this video. Hey, but that's not the only title fight on this show. We've also got the women's featherweight title on the line when Amanda Nunes takes on Megan Anderson. For those of you who weren't paying attention at the start of the video, I've already mentioned Amanda Nunes' name. She is currently the reigning and defending women's UFC featherweight and bantamweight champion. And as if that wasn't enough, she is on an 11-fight win streak in which time she has beat Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, Cyborg and Valentina Shevchenko, 4 absolute powerhouses of women's mixed martial arts. Hey, not to mention she also beat WWE women's wrestler Shayna Baszler back when Shayna Baszler was in the UFC. Now, I don't know why Amanda Nunes isn't one of the biggest stars in the world right now. She is a proper LGBTQ plus hero. She's just had a baby with her partner Nina Ansaroff. She's the double champ, 11 fight win streak. Add that to the fact that she's beaten everyone who's anyone in women's mixed martial arts. You have got a true superstar in the making. Now, her only downfall is she's not fluent in English. I truly believe that if she was fluent in English, she would be on an absolute other level. And just to add one more feather to her bow, she is the lioness. She comes out in the lion's head to weigh-ins, and it's just such a cool visual. She's got the gimmicks, she's got the skills to back it up. Amanda Nunes is the star in women's MMA. Now, on the other side of the octagon, you're going to have Megan Anderson. Now, don't get me wrong, Megan Anderson is a great prospect in women's MMA, but she has like an 11-4 record. She's been stopped twice in the UFC by Holly Holm and Felicia Spencer, two women that Amanda Nunes has already beaten. I think this fight is a bit of a formality. Amanda Nunes is in this position where there seems to be no true challengers for a title, but hey, famous last words, eh? That's what I thought about Anderson Silva, and then Weidman pasted him. So let's round this one off with another prediction. I'm going with Amanda Nunes KO victory. We'll say round 1. Hey, so you thought 2 title fights was pretty good, eh? Well, have I got news for you. There is a third title fight on this show. An incredible third title fight, as the men's Bantamweight title is on the line when Petr Yan will take on Aljamain Sterling. Now, this fight to me is what MMA is all about. We have got 2 rising superstars who I personally feel like are great fighters, but I've not seen enough of them to really gauge who the true better one of the 2 is. So hey, what do? We put them in a cage and we make them fight it out and prove who's the best. So let's start by talking about the champion, Petr Yan, Russian fella, 15-1 in the UFC, beaten legends like Uriah Faber and Jose Aldo in his last 2 fights en route to becoming the Bantamweight champion in the UFC. He's a quote-unquote exciting fighter for the casuals as well, because 4 of his 7 UFC wins have come by knockout. But then on the other side of the cage, we've got Aljamain Sterling on a 5-fight winning streak. He's just beaten Corey Sandhagen, another one of the guys who we really thought was one of the top prospects in MMA. Now, that doesn't make Sandhagen not a prospect anymore. It just means Aljo is just on that next level, and that's why we want to see this fight. We want to see that clash. Yan, Sterling coming together. Remember when I mentioned Petr Yan's knockout record in the UFC? Well, Aljo's got 4 submissions in the UFC, so it's a nice clash of styles from that aspect too. And they both have a common opponent. Now, MMA maths never works, but it doesn't matter in this instance because their common opponent is Jimmy Rivera, who they both beat by unanimous decision. Right, prediction time. As I said, this is a bit of a pick'em, so forgive me on this one more than any of the others on this card, but I think we're gonna see an Aljamain Sterling win in this one. Now it's time for the fight that I'm most looking forward to. Huh? You just told us there's 3 title fights. How can you be looking forward to another fight more than them? The fight I'm most looking forward to is Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. And the reason I'm most looking forward to this one is I'm a huge fan of the guys from AKA. We had DC, we had Rockhold, we had Kane. They were elite level fighters, all champions in their division. And then we had Khabib, a dominant champion in his division. And now we've got his protege, Islam Makhachev. Now, Makhachev is very similar to Khabib. However, Makhachev has 1 loss on his record when he was rushing in and Martins caught him and KO'd him. The KO seemed a little bit dodgy, but the referee probably saw into his eyes, saw something was going on there and saved him from further punishment. But maybe other referees would have let it continue a little bit longer and Makhachev might have been able to turn it around, but history's history, it's a loss in the record books. Now, since then, he's been grinding out decisions and he's had 1 other stoppage win. But besides that, he is one of the funniest guys in MMA. He was constantly calling out top 15 fighters. Hey, give me a top 15 fighter. And then he finally said it, the funniest call out ever, because he is a lightweight and he was calling out a top 15 fighter or Brock Lesnar, a heavyweight. It was just ridiculous. It was hilarious. I absolutely loved it. Now he's fighting a bit of a journeyman in Drew Dober with a 23-9-1 salty record. I think they've kind of lined this up as a way for Makhachev to get a win, get on the pay-per-view card, boost his name up a little bit, especially in the absence of Khabib, and they're going to try and build a star in Makhachev. Then the final fight on the main card, it's probably going to kick it all off. It is Thiago Santos versus Rakic. Now Santos gave John Jones the fight of his life. John Jones has one loss on his record, but nobody really counts it because it was kind of a strange DQ for elbows, but we won't talk about that here. We want to talk about Santos, because Santos went to a split decision with John Jones. The only person who's ever done that. He's gone closest to taking the title for John Jones. But then after that loss, he then had a shock loss to Glover Teixeira, an aging Glover at that. So we're not really too sure where to place him. Then on the other side, you've got Rakic with a 13-2 record, but some of his wins have been quite impressive. He's beat Lionheart, he's beat Jimmy Manuel, so he's got some big names on his CV. Now compare that to Santos' record, 21-8. It's a bit of a strange one, but just because of the fact that he pushed John Jones so closely, I'm going to have to say that this one's going to come completely down to which Thiago Santos turns up. In terms of a prediction, because he's coming off 2 losses, maybe he's lost his mojo, lost his way a little bit, I'm going to go with a Rakic win. So that's the main card covered. I just want to quickly touch on 2 of the undercard fights. We've got Kenny versus Dominic Cruz. Now Dominic Cruz has had 2 losses recently. He's had very long layouts with injury. We all know the Dominic Cruz story, but I think he's going to pull this one out. He's the kind of the main event on the prelims, and I think he's just an elite fighter. He's so different. A lot of people tried to copy him because he was so good. I think Cruz is going to have this in the bag. Then there's Joseph Benavidez versus Askarov. Now this is a very interesting fight. Joseph Benavidez was on a great run until he came up against Davison Figueiredo, who beat him twice. Now, there's no shame in that because we've seen the run that Figueiredo's been on since, and we know he's the real deal. And Askarov, he has got one of the most interesting backstories in the UFC. He's a deaf fighter, and he really is a true inspiration to people to show impossible is nothing. Right, those are my predictions for UFC 259. I would love to hear yours. Drop them in the comment section down below. We will compare notes after the fight. We'll see who got it right, see who got it wrong. I'm more than happy putting my face out there and putting those predictions out there. Let's see what happens, eh? If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button down below and ding that notification bell. That way, YouTube knows that people like these videos and will send it to other people. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below. That way I know people enjoyed this video, and that way I'll make more going forward, because if people enjoy them, I'll make more of them. Right, that's enough of my face. Go watch something else. I've been Anwar Thinks. Thank you very much for watching.